Hey, good afternoon. My name is Chelsea Barnes, Director of Government Affairs and Strategy at Appalachian Voices. Welcome to our App Voices weekly Holler at Congress. We recognize that there's a lot going on in the federal space, and it can be really hard to keep track of, and even harder to know where to plug in and help advocate for your community. So, this is our effort to ease that struggle and help folks make a difference for their communities in this chaotic time. Right now, at the federal level, President Trump and his quasi-governmental agency, the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, led by Elon Musk, are rapidly transforming the federal government. And while everyone agrees that the federal government could use some efficiency improvements, as Elon Musk himself noted, they are getting some stuff wrong. At the same time, Congress is working on multiple legislative vehicles to fund the government and to make sweeping changes to energy and tax policies. So all this is to say that there is a lot going on, but we know that one of the most effective things that people can do is to simply call their members of Congress and tell them what they're concerned about. And if we are all calling about the same things, we're making a bigger impact. So each week we're picking something specific that we can all make calls about, and we'll make calls during this Thursday time slot, but if you or your friends can't make this time every week, we'll also provide a toolkit that you can share and make calls on your own time. So with that, we're going to jump in on this week's topic, which is defending the Environmental Protection Agency to protect our health. So over the past couple months, the EPA has generally been under attack. The EPA is the federal agency responsible for enforcing air and clean water regulations, protecting people from things like toxic waste, dangerous air pollution, oil spills, and more. In Appalachia, where communities are dealing with the negative impacts of numerous polluting industries such as coal and gas and logging, the EPA has played a crucial role in cleaning up the damage and protecting people from more harm. So just a handful of examples that we wanted to point out here of what the EPA has been doing in Appalachia and to protect Appalachian community health in recent years. They've invested hundreds of $millions in upgrading water systems in West Virginia, both drinking water and wastewater systems. They enacted something called the Good Neighbor Plan, which protects the air we breathe even from power plants that are hundreds of miles away, because the pollution from those power plants can travel very far. The EPA has also supported flood resilience in Southwest Virginia coal fields from things like environmental justice grants, and improved air quality by limiting the amount of particulate matter, including coal dust, that can be in the air. And lastly, they've invested hundreds of $millions in forest management to help with things like flood resilience and capturing carbon. So what's happening now? EPA is facing a number of attacks on its ability to do its work. DOGE has fired hundreds and hundreds of EPA employees and even closed entire offices within the agency, and we've seen reports for plans to do more of these kinds of closures. These attacks are going to lead to worse health for people across the country and in Appalachia specifically. Recently, they announced plans to cut 1,000 public health scientists who work to research toxics like PFAS and other pollutants that pollute our water. They've canceled many grants for states, cities, and nonprofits that were funding programs that make our communities healthier and stronger. And they're just getting started. Last week, folks may have seen that the EPA also announced plans to roll back 31 health and safety regulations, including regulations that reduce toxic pollution from power plants and manufacturing facilities, regulations that manage wastewater from oil and gas operations, and things and regulations that protect people from coal ash. And that's just to name a few. It's a long list, and it's gotten pretty overwhelming for folks that like us that work in the environmental field, and folks like you that care about the air you breathe and the water you drink. So right now, Congress has oversight authority over the EPA and what the administration is doing, and we really need them to intervene. So this week, we're going to be calling our senators and representatives about defending the EPA from these attacks. And I'm going to hand it over to Jess to talk a little bit more about the toolkit. I'll switch over and share that toolkit so you can see it on your screen. But then we're going to make calls together to call our elected officials. So I'm going to hand it over to Jess.
Chelsea, thanks so much. So you've heard about the impacts that are happening to this important environmental agency. And now we have a couple of ways to take immediate action on this issue. So the goal for today is to take at least 3 actions, and that is calling your own senators and your own representative. But you have an opportunity to reach out to more than just your own elected officials too. The toolkit that we are putting in the chat and we'll put on the recording of the this or live stream of this program gives you all the tools you need to talk about this issue, to advocate on this, and to reach out to those decision makers. So the toolkit is updated with information about specific ways the EPA does important work, especially in Appalachian communities. It talks about the risk of impacting the EPA funding and staffing and the significant damage that could bring, and gives you lots of great talking points as you're reaching out to elected officials. So take action. We're going to take action together today. We're going to contact members of Congress. So you have information about your senators and representatives. If you don't have their number just yet, excuse me, that information is there. And you also have a switchboard that you can call at 202-224-3121. And that is a tool you can use to get to any member of Congress's office, including your own senators and representative. What you also have is a sample script. There are many ways to personally advocate for this issue, to give your own perspective on that. And that's very important, especially when speaking with your own legislators and they hear from constituents about why their constituent is so specifically concerned about cuts to the EPA and why it's crucial to keep our environment safe, to push back against those cuts and protect that agency. So the sample script there you can use when you're calling members of Congress or communicating with them via email. And the sample script talks about, letting them know that you're a constituent, where you're calling from today, and to express your concern about the attacks on the EPA. You can name the reasons that EPA is crucial to protecting human health and safety, that it helps protect people from toxic pollution that causes very significant medical impacts, and that firing employees, canceling protections, and canceling grants makes us unsafe. You want to end your communication to the legislators by asking that they conduct oversight hearings to push back on the administration, and to please defend the EPA. So you can modify the script if you'd like, but the point we are trying to get across within this toolkit and within our click to call, our click to message action that you can also use today is to defend the EPA from the attacks happening right now. So as you're looking at the toolkit, you can continue to scroll down. You can see information about what you might want to write to your senators and House representatives, including a sample email with specific examples of why the EPA's rollbacks of regulations would be so harmful. And then below that, you'll see what I mentioned before, our action tool, where you can send a letter through our program, and that would go to your elected officials. We also want to talk about this issue on Facebook and Instagram, on social media, spread the word about the threats to this agency, and engage others on this advocacy. So we have sample language for you to use here. If you want to reach out, tag your elected officials, tag members of Congress on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Blue Sky. So we encourage you to use these sample scripts for that and modify to make it more personal. At the end of the toolkit, after you have social media resources, we have the additional links to communicate with elected officials. That's information about where they are and what district they're in, a clickable link to get to their contact form, their telephone number, and then their handle on X, so you can more easily communicate with them. So this toolkit has everything that you need to make those calls today. So we encourage you to start off with your own senators and then your congressional representative. and then go from there as your time allows on this important issue. As we transition to actually making calls together in the second half of this lunchtime Holler at Congress action, we have a sample script that we can keep on the screen as we make calls together and let each other know what's happening. When you reach out to offices, are you able to talk to someone? What is the feedback that they're giving you? Does your elected official have a stance on this very important issue? Are they going to help protect the EPA? So I'll pass it back now to Chelsea as we start that portion of today's Holler at Congress event.
Thanks so much, Jess. And can someone from the App Voices team drop in the chat the phone number for the switchboard again, just in case folks don't have that handy. So this is the sample script that you can use to make your calls now. As just said, feel free to adapt this to your own personal experience or interests. You might be asked, and you probably will be asked for your address when you make your calls if you actually get in touch with a staffer when you call, which might not happen this week because Congress is in district this week, so some staff aren't in office. So it might be more likely that you just get a voicemail this week, but even those count. So this is the script you can use, and please go ahead and make your calls. As Jess said, you can start with your senators and then move on to your rep. So 3 calls, unless you live in DC. Sorry, DC folks. But this is we'll leave the sample script on, and in the chat, keep us updated with the calls you're making and what you're hearing if you're getting staff that are responsive. So let's all make our calls. If you are joining us in the live stream on Facebook, we are making calls to our members of Congress right now. Folks are going on mute and dialing up their cell phones. We can provide the switchboard number for you in case you can't see it. It is 202-224-3121. And this week we are making calls about defending the Environmental Protection Agency to defend our community health. So we've got a sample script here up on the screen. And again, you can join us by using the switchboard number to call your members of Congress at 202-224-3121. Thanks for that update, Molly. Yes, it's okay to leave a message for the Senate leadership and House leadership too, if you've got time. Folks joining us on the live stream on Facebook, we're making calls to our senators and representatives, and about the EPA. So thanks so much for those of you who are making calls. Yes, Kara, if you did Griffith first, if you did your representative first, then you can switch over to your senators, of which you should have two. And if you're in Griffith's district, they are Kane and Warner. Great. Thank you, Jess. Sounds like a lot of us will be calling Senator Warner today, myself included. I got that one in. All right. If folks are wrapping up, we can go ahead and start to wrap up this call. If anybody has any questions, we'll stay on the line here in case folks have questions about the calls they're making. But I think we can go ahead and start to wrap things up. Thanks for joining us today. I thank you, Josh. Yep. Understand that that this is a challenging time. We're going to keep at it, calling our members of Congress. Really appreciate folks who joined today and made those calls. And please share the toolkit with your friends and keep making contact with your elected officials. Agree that pressure is always good. And we'll go ahead and wrap there. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week. I think we're tentatively planning on doing calls about defending the clean energy tax credits next week. So if you got folks who care about that, please join us next week. But of course, something else might happen and we'll have to switch gears. You never know with this administration. So we'll see y'all next week, and thanks so much for your time.